Fasten your seatbelts for the realest Eagles and Sixers YouTuber! One who plays no clickbait and gets to the point! The myth, the legend, Nicky Steves! Come to my channel, you know the deal, yo boy always keeps things real. I'm simply statue think they slate, dropping unrealistic match, 2K takes for the clip. Even though cats like that get views closer to the millie, never hear me preach, slip on to Philly. Before you watch the Eagles all the way through the early 22, authentic talk, forget what others do. Come to my channel, you know the deal, yo boy, always keeps things real. The 24/7, 365 way, sports content for the reals that fill the day. Good morning, folks. It is July 8th. We're at our regular time slot now of 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for episode 17 of the 3-Point Blitz. We will be doing this now on Tuesdays going forward, 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is the regular, folks. Got this going live on my channel and the Hardcore Sports Network as always. And this time around this week, at the end of the show, we're going to have a new segment. I'm debuting the LOL of the week. At the end of the week, the LOL of the week. So at the end of each show, we're going to find something to laugh about. We're still going to do, like we normally do, we're still going to start off with the rant of the week. Then we're going to switch gears start talking about the main stories. Then we're going to close it out with an LOL of the week. So that's going to be the new deal here morning. So keep an eye out for that. We got LOL of the week. Going to close it out each and every episode starting this week. And we're going to start off this week. This time when we were going to start off, we're going to start off the first bit talking about Philly sports. We're going to start off with the rant of the week. It's going to be kind of simple and a touch up on something I already said. It's about the endless, I emphasize again, the endless clickbait, but not even just the clickbait, but more so about the people that actually buy into it. We've seen one of the biggest clickbaits for Sixers fans nearly every offseason since 2018 is trying to really tease people with the idea that LeBron could come to Philly. Now, if anyone who I'm mad at the most are the people that actually buy into this idea and think it's realistic. Because I see it all the time. People actually comment and buy into this notion and they get hyped about it. You guys are some of the most annoying fans out there because y'all contribute to this. Y'all contribute to clickbait journalism, clickbait videos all the time by falling for it. Like the most recent one that I saw last week, I looked in the comments section because I went there to rant about people continuing to talk about it, continuing to tease the idea of LeBron coming to Philly, which I wasn't even going to say nothing about. So if you're wondering, how did I even get to this point where I'm ranting about it? First, I'm going to backtrack. Because it started with a notification. It was Sixers Now by Chat Sports. I got a notification from them 3 days ago, and it was a clickbait video. Must see 76ers rumors on LeBron James trade to Philly was the title of their video. And I went on there to comment on it to say, all right, enough. This is absolutely ridiculous. And I saw the comment section. I saw some people actually buying into it and thinking this is a realistic possibility. Like, guys, wake up. Stop. All right? It's not realistic, okay? Stop trying to buy into the notion just because it sounds cool, okay? Look, just because the idea sounds cool does not mean it's going to happen, all right? If anything, that's what we got 2K, my league, for. If anything, that's the way I see it. Because that's not how it works in the real world. Fans that buy in, that continue to hype up the idea, irk me. And I don't relate to them in any way, shape, or form. Because I always love to have realistic conversations. You guys that watch my content know that. You see my YouTube shorts, you watch my lives, you guys know by now, hey, Nicky Stees keeps his takes realistic. He does not believe and never believed once that the 76ers were going to get, who's another player that's been teased out there that, never believed that, Nicky Stees never believed, we're going to get Anthony Davis, or we're going to get Bill off a big trade for, Luka or something like that. I mean, I'm just throwing different players out there as other examples. You guys know I've never pushed that out there. You know I'm always realistic. And the last thing, I cannot relate to fans who come on here and drop videos like that and just for clicks. I do not relate one bit. I don't relate to, rumors of the Sixers potentially trading for Mikal Bridges, or I'm just making up random examples, but you get the point. I can't find that relatable at all. I just nah. That's where I turn it off. And that's why, basically, I got my little click here on YouTube. And you get the guys that buy into all these clickbait subjects, the idea of, or some other, it's not just even LeBron to the Sixers. There's even other people that push the idea of, oh, remember the LeBron to the Warriors rumors? I mean, people like that who spread that out there, I cannot relate to them whatsoever. There is no understanding from my point of view as to where these guys even waste time trying to float out these ideas, thinking that this could actually happen. Like, I don't see it. But hey, that's why I got who I got. I got my people. We got Mitch, Coach Ed Gladney, Rios, those guys, Arku, comes who stops by, David, Podman, all those guys. Grega John, that's what I love about it. But these fans with these unrealistic takes, man, I just cannot anymore, bro. It's just so many year after year after year of unrealistic take. And you can just switch sports for a second. Let's talk about football for a second. There was that whole deal with the Eagles when Jair Alexander hit the market. Oh, we could get him. He could be our next corner. Well, then realistically, we knew that wasn't going to happen. But people still try to take the bait and go for it. But you see what happened, huh? And this is why I don't waste time on it. But dude, I got nothing to do with that. But you know what else? While we're still ranting, so we get all the negativity out the way, let's talk about the 76ers, shall we? What is there to say about the 76ers? Look, we all knew this would be an important offseason for them. For them to actually do something, make a few moves, because we know they cannot run it back with the core they had last year. Even with the injuries, giving them the benefit of the doubt of, okay, well, we had a tough season because we had a lot of our players injured. Yes, that is true, but you knew based off what we did put on the court with the lineup we had, we could not run it back with a majority of the crew. We had to make some trades. We had to make some moves in the draft and do something with it. And ultimately, we did start doing something with it. We got VJ Edgecombe come draft night. It was supposed to be Ace Bailey, but he didn't want to come here. So we got VJ Edgecombe as our backup option, which I like that move. And then you get Johnny Broom. Hey, he's a second rounder. You need a backup center. You haven't had one. It's at least worth taking a chance on. Will he actually pan out the NBA level? Time will tell, but it's at least something worth taking a risk on. But that's what we started off on the draft. All right, maybe there's some optimism. Maybe there's a reason I could be optimistic about this. Maybe we might actually do something this time around. But then we come free agency. We have a whole bunch of guards. We got to clear some space. We know we got to make some moves. Get some guys out of here. But what did we do? So we bring back Eric Gordon. Not too optimistic about it, but we need a veteran. But only follow that up by bringing back Kyle Lowry. So we're bringing back two of the same veterans who contributed to last season's on-the-court sham and on-the-court abortion without Embiid and Paul George there for a majority of the season. And this is who they decide, hey, we won't bring them back. That's who they decided, hey, let's bring them back. Now, I even looked at some potential targets for the Sixers. You could have gotten a DeAnthony Melton back. Actually, that would have been great then. Remember DeAnthony Melton for the Sixers back in those 2 seasons he was there before we lost him to the Warriors? I was thinking maybe there was a guy we could have gone after and targeted. Try to bring him back. But, hey, he's now with the Nets. So we lost out on that opportunity. But for the Sixers, 23-24, he in 38 games averaged about 11 points, 3.7 rebounds, so close to 4 rebounds, and 3 assists per game. And a little closer to 2 steals per game, which wasn't great numbers, but they were solid. And they would have been better than what we had. But then it would have been better to go for DeAnthony Melton than to bring back Gordon or Lowry, because Melton's a veteran but a veteran that could still contribute. That would have actually been a good idea. That would have been bad, but they wanted to bring back Eric Gordon and Kyle Lowry, who did not contribute, so you're running it back with the same core. So that was right there, a screw up right there. So they fucked up that one right there. Then you some other targets there was potentially. We could have maybe tried to maybe get a Naz Reid, but that would have actually been a good backup center even. But we didn't do that. And looking at what we got Lowry back. I don't think we really needed to get a forward at some point through free agency. I mean, technically we could still do so. Maybe trade for, say, we could theoretically still trade with the Utah Jazz to get Lauri Markkanen, but the odds of it are looking like a long shot the way this offseason started. It does not look favorable. Instead, what we did, we re-signed Justin Edwards, Lowry Gordon, signed Trendon Watford, which, I mean, granted, yes, he's a bench player. He was okay for the Blazers and Nets. Now, if our starters could stay healthy, then maybe Watford could be a decent forward for the Sixers that could help us out. And he could help us out a bit, but the big thing is we're hoping that the Sixers starters could stay healthy and Watford could actually contribute in some way, shape, or form. But then we don't know if that's actually going to happen or not. Though but that's not a needle moving there. Watford, even though he could be a decent six man, he's not a move. He doesn't move the needle for the Sixers. So I'm looking at the free agency portion of this. It's dreadful. Even with BJ Edgecombe, even if he does pan out, hey, that's good for us, but that's still too many guards. I said we should not have brought back Lowry and Gordon. If you wanted to bring back one guy to be the guy at the end of the bench, you could have brought back one guy and have that guy be the guy at the end of the bench. But you brought back both. Now you're stuck in a similar predicament as last year. You're too guard heavy. And I get it. You're saying, well, let's hope Paul George comes back healthy. Do you really think the odds of Paul George coming back healthy at this stage in his career and helping the big three blossom as they were hyped up to be you really think the odds are favorable at this point? To me, it's not. You got too many of the same pieces as last year. And this is why I don't trust Daryl Morey one bit. And we even look at his tenure in Houston. I've always pointed to this one. When he was in Houston in the mid-2010s, when you had the trio of Howard, Harden, and Parsons, Daryl Morey confidently believed that was going to be the trio that would get it done. And what happened? He let Chandler Parsons walk in free agency in 2014. That was one slip up right there. And you see, throughout his time there with the Rockets, look at the roster they put together. I mean, they had, you had a James Harden at his peak. It's very talented, MVP James Harden, but also at his immaturity. Yeah, they didn't. But then you had Chris Paul for a few years. That didn't really work out. But even then, look at the Rockets, how they never really built a truly great team. And you can say, well, the Rockets had a conference finals run. They had rotten luck. Yes, that is true. The Chris Paul injury did play a role in that, but let's not forget something. That was during the super team era where it was easier to push your way through the brackets. It was easier for the Rockets to push their way through it. And Arku said Rafael Stone is doing a better job than Daryl Morey in Houston. When you look at the team they built together, absolutely. Rafael Stone's team, just on paper, looks like a much more intimidating and imposing team to make a finals run than what Daryl Morey built in Houston. And like I said, people keep referring back to that 2018 run. It was the Chris Paul injury. Now, I don't mean to put an asterisk on the Rockets' run to the conference finals, but you got to remember, this was the super team era. It was a lot easier to make a run to the second round or conference finals during that stage where it was LeBron, Cavs, KD, Curry, Warriors. Now, in this time period where you got the league split out with stars, you can't really do it that way. The way Daryl Morey built that Rockets team, I'll put it this way, would not work with the current NBA structure. It would not. I don't see that team that he structured in Houston with Harden and Howard or Harden and CP3 leading to a deep playoff run. Now, with more parity across the league, it's not as easy to make a run to a conference finals or a finals. In this case, a conference finals like it was for the Rockets when they did. So we still, with all due respect to that 2017-2018 Rockets team, we got to keep that in mind. So again, if we look closer, what did Daryl Morey really do that was that great in Houston? We got Harden, or they got Harden, and look at what he's done currently. Look what he's done with the Sixers. You could take a look at the Harden debacle with him leaving and getting traded to the Clippers. You can blame Harden, but you can partially blame Daryl Morey because he promised Harden he would give him the bag under the condition that he performed well in the playoffs, but he promised him the bag before he lived up to the conditional side of it. And then when Harden didn't meet the conditional part of it, which was, well, good performance in the playoffs in 2023, Morey reneged on his promise, and Harden obviously was upset about it. So I can partially blame Daryl Morey for the way he handled Harden by making him a promise without enforcing that, hey, this is what you got to do to get there. So Harden feels like Daryl Morey lied to him. And from his point of view, I get it. So I can see Harden's point of view as well. So I can partially blame Daryl Morey as well as James Harden for the way that went down. Look at what they're doing now this offseason. Let Yabusele walk. If the Sixers would have just decided, hey, let's cut ties, Lowry, Gordon, clear some cap space, maybe save some room to re-sign Yabusele, maybe they could have still kept him. There's no guarantee of that, but if we would have decided to cut some of the guards we're bringing back, there's maybe an outside chance we could have brought him back. Maybe. But obviously, that didn't work out. And he ends up going to the Knicks, which, like I said about that, if Yabu would have went to the Spurs or some other team out west, I would have been a lot easier to bear down. But instead, he's going to the Knicks, one of our main rivals, who were already contenders in the East. Now, on top of them being contenders, which I'll get more to the Knicks later because they made a big move with the coaching helm that I'll talk about. But you got that as well. And just look at, like I said, last season, having Lowry and Gordon in last season. Oh boy, it's like Groundhog's Day. That was a mistake right there. And we bring in Jared McCain. He was playing good until the injury, so we can't. So far, okay, it seems like it could be a good pick. We could look back and say Jared McCain was a good pick. Time will tell on that. But you're looking so far. You tried to bring in Buddy Hield, right? And yes, that's right. He didn't fit in with us. He went to the Warriors. Now he's looking like he's coming back to form. So you can partially blame Daryl Morey for that trade, but not knowing how to utilize Buddy Hield properly. And like I said, you could have had, so many guys that we've passed throughout the years. Like, oh, remember Isaiah Joe? Now where is he? He was with the Thunder as a solid bench player for that team that just won an NBA championship. And there's so many guys that we've let slip through our fingers. But Daryl Morey, man, yeah, they should fire him at this point because he's having another dreadful season, trying to run it back with the same core, expecting a different outcome. I don't see that happening. That's going to be my rant there. So I'm going to stop, take just a couple-minute break. Be right back. Then we're going to get into the other main NBA headlines. And we're going to close out with an LOL of the week. All that's coming up in just 1 minute. All right, we're back, folks. Let's get right in. So back after just a quick break, now we're going to dive into the main subjects going on across the NBA. Got the Sixers rants out of the way. Now it's time to move on to some more of the fun stuff or interesting stuff. We're going to start off real quickly, talk about the New York Knicks firing former Sacramento Kings head coach Mike Brown as their new head coach. And I think this does have the potential to work out in favor of the Knicks. This could be a good substitute, which is great for the Knicks, not so great for us as Sixers fans, because you take a Mike Brown who did pretty good with the Sacramento Kings, considering he didn't have the greatest supporting cast in the world. They mostly had a relatively mediocre cast, and Mike Brown still ended up making them a respectable team. Now you're taking that same coach, giving him a better supporting cast. There's certainly the potential that you could truly see Mike Brown's best as a head coach with the Knicks, which bodes great for them, but not so great for the rest of the league. And then they got Yabusele on top of it to add along with Brunson, Cat, Bridges. This team is likely going to come back into contention again. And like I said, Mike Brown could lead that team could lead that team again. And he has a track record of making the most of what he had with the Sacramento Kings, but now you give him a better supporting cast. We might see what he can really do as a coach. But hey, ultimately time will tell. But it's also important to see how is Mike Brown going to mesh with the players. Because we got to remember, always any coach hiring could have the potential, but it's not just about potential. It's about how does the team work? How do the players go with his style? Does Mike Brown's style work with the players the same way it did with Thibodeau? Can Mike Brown recreate some of that similar magic? Not only recreate that magic, but take it to the next level with the Knicks? Those are the questions that remain to be answered. On paper, it has the potential to work out, but we're going to see what happens there. Now we're going to move on to the other main subject. Talk about the 7-team NBA trade that went down. Now, this played out through it. To me, it came across as a marketing scheme, as a marketing spiel, because we saw all these different trades play out to where we're at now. Now it's being put together as a 7-team trade, but I'm going to show you the full details in just one moment. But ultimately, I feel like the Rockets fleece the rest of the league. They're the clear-cut winners of this trade. And I'll show you it. Let's take a look. You got Rockets, KD, and Clint Capella, who's a good player, gets to move in he's a good role player in a better situation. Then you get the Suns, get extra picks for a rebuild, get Jalen Green and Dylan Brooks, who could help with their rebuild, add some veteran depth, but nothing significant. The Hawks get Nickeil Alexander-Walker and a Houston 2031 second-round pick. And you get the Lakers get pick 36 in Adu Thior, which isn't really anything special. The Warriors picks 52 and 59 traded to Memphis. And then you look at the Timberwolves, the 45th pick, 2026 second, Phoenix 2032 second. And then the Nets, you get a 2026 second, 2030 second. I mean, there's nothing special for anyone outside of the Rockets getting KD. So clearly obvious, this is a huge win for the Rockets. Now, Nickeil Alexander-Walker to the Hawks, that could help the Hawks, but it's not just the Alexander-Walker move for the Hawks in this trade. There's other trades that they were involved in that occurred throughout the offseason, which I'm going to talk about one of my potential winners and losers in just a minute. But pretty clear, it's obvious. The Rockets pretty much fleeced the rest of the league. Credit to Rafael Stone, as Arku brought up. He got Kevin Durant, made the Rockets contenders. But the rest of the teams involved in this trade, I didn't really see anything special except for the Hawks, maybe Alexander Walker. And I do think the Hawks are winners for NBA free agency as a whole. This trade, I mean, they could be potential winners from this trade if you combine what happened here along with the rest of the trades. But hey, we will have to ultimately see how it plays out. But any note, though, yeah. So that's where we at right now with the Rockets in the 7. So the Rockets ultimately won out in the 7-team trade. Clearly to me. I don't see, I mean, maybe the Hawks get something out of it, but I don't see anyone else really getting anything out of it. But then NBA free agency as a whole now. So alongside the Houston Rockets being winners, now let's talk about some of the other winners. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the winners and losers of the NBA free agency so far as of today, July 8th. And shout out to Coach Ed Gladney. He shared this with me via Twitter. He shared a graphic with me, which gives me all the moves as of now, who's done what. And I'm going to try to share that with you guys in just one moment. So give me one moment. I'll see if I can share it with you guys. So I'm going to have to do, I'm going to share this graphic in a tweet. I downloaded it. Give me 1 minute. All right, so I'm posting it. I'm going to post this on Twitter. I just wanted to also give a shout out to Coach Ed real quickly. All righty, it's up right now. I'm going to post it. Oh, here we go. Here we go. I'm going to share this with you guys. So here's some of the here's some where it's at. Some of the main moves that went on right now. Now we're going to talk about some of the winners and losers. Another winner, beside the Houston Rockets fleecing pretty much everyone else, the Atlanta Hawks, because they get the sign and trade for Nickeil Alexander-Walker, trade to get Porzingis, adding a big man who can get some rebounds and score as well, and signing Luke Kennard. So they add some more depth to this team. And that could help them out, especially with Trae Young still being there, because one of the biggest things is they didn't really have a well-rounded team. Now you get a few guys that could actually help out on offense. A guy in Porzingis that can give you some defense and can get you some points. And Alexander Walker, who's a solid role player for the Timberwolves, now going to the Hawks. And you add Luke Kennard. That could be a win. That could definitely help out, because now you're giving them more depth, and that could help them go from being a play-in team or maybe potentially a play-in team that actually does reach the playoffs, or maybe a 6 seed possibly. At least this could get the Hawks in the playoff contention, potentially. Another potential winner, I think, the Detroit Pistons, because they were coming off a good year last year. You finally made the playoffs. You put up a good series against the Knicks. You re-signed Paul Reed. Oopsie daisy, Sixers. There's another veteran you let slip through. There's a guy that could have been a decent backup center. Something else I forgot to mention during my Daryl Morey rant. And then they also get Karis LeVert from the Cavs. That could be a good sign. Could add some depth to them. And then a sign and trade for Duncan Robinson. You're taking a team that's already got some decent pieces, trying to give them some more depth. Maybe this could potentially help the Pistons next year be more competitive and stay in the mix. And then another potential winner may be the Memphis Grizzlies now, because looking at what they did this whole offseason. Because the Grizzlies, not only did the Grizzlies go and get not only did the Memphis Grizzlies go and get some guy that could help out, but they also, give me 1 second. I'm trying to see if I can share the full graphic with you guys. But then you get hold on a second. So the Grizzlies, you also got, like I said, they were part of that big trade. Oh, here we go. Oh, yeah, it's right in front of me. I'm bugging. You got the Memphis Grizzlies. You got extended Jaren Jackson Jr. They were part of that trade with the Magic where they sent Desmond Bane, but in return, they got Cole Anthony, Caldwell Pope as well. That could help make the Grizzlies a better team next year. Maybe help them get a series win, possibly help them get past the first round, which has dreaded them for a while. So I could see the Grizzlies maybe being potential winners of this whole ordeal. And then another team, the Boston Celtics. Now, Boston, they haven't gotten much player-wise. They got George Niang, Anthony Simmons, but they also got a bunch of future seconds. Now, it doesn't sound like much at first, but remember something. We're in an era where role players switch teams constantly. It's good for Boston to get those second-round picks, a team that has a good track record of getting the right guys in to the fold to be role players. Now what they're doing is they're getting a few guys that could have the potential to maybe, help to be replacement players because, that eventually come free agency every year, teams are going to lose role players. And by Boston having extra second-round picks, they assure that they at least have an opportunity to sign guys that can be suitable replacements as for when that inevitably happens. So this actually is a good idea to get some future seconds. Get some guys that could potentially help you out down the line. Well, I do have them as winners. Some of the potential losers in this one, I'll start with the Orlando Magic. And they got Desmond Bane, yes. They re-signed Mo Wagner, but they had to give up Cole Anthony and Caldwell Pope. Two key pieces in helping out that team last year. Now you bring in a Desmond Bane who was a solid player for the Grizzlies, but was never a true star. Now you're bringing him in, putting him to a team. You're basically taking Desmond Bane, swapping him from a Western Conference team that has a lot of young talent that couldn't do anything big in the playoffs, and take him to the Orlando Magic, another team in the same boat. Young, talented team, but can't really do anything big come playoff time. Okay, straight to the point, sports and entertainment. Thanks for stopping by. It's been a minute since I've seen you in the chat. Hope all is well. Right now, we're talking some NBA free agency winners and losers. Some of my winners, quick recap, potentially were the Grizzlies that trade for Desmond Bane. They do get a few solid pieces. They're Cole Anthony's, Caldwell Popes. Another potential winner, Boston, because now they get some future second-round picks that, even though it doesn't sound like much, being that nowadays teams trade role players all the time, those future seconds could come in handy when Boston needs suitable replacements for role players that go elsewhere. And then you also got the Pistons getting a Karis LeVert, re-signing Paul Reed. That could help them out going forward as well. And the Atlanta Hawks got a little bit more depth with their team. Porzingis adds a little bit of defense and some three-point shooting. Nickeil Alexander-Walker's a solid role player. Luke Kennard. Now they're getting some more depth on their team. That could help. And for the losers, the Magic, I don't like where they came out with the Desmond Bane trade because they get Desmond Bane, yes, but they had to give up a few of their guys, Cole Anthony, Caldwell Pope, to get it. And Desmond Bane's going from one young, talented team that couldn't do anything in the playoffs really to another team out east in the same predicament. Another loser are the Portland Trailblazers. Holy sh! Seriously, lost DeAndre Ayton. Now he's going to the Lakers, and you got Drew Holiday. Okay, Drew Holiday, don't get me wrong. Drew Holiday's an excellent veteran, and Drew Holiday's a good player. Don't get me wrong, but is Drew Holiday alone going to move the needle for the Portland Trailblazers? Because with all due respect to Holiday, well, he is a multi-time NBA champion. Let's remember something. Holiday was never the lead guy on those teams. He wasn't the lead guy in Milwaukee, when they won it with Giannis, and he wasn't the lead guy in Boston. I mean, Drew Holiday excels as a role player with the right team. Him being the number one guy with the Blazers, that's not his role. He's being completely miscast. And what else do the Blazers have? And the Nets took a big L in this one. Now, hear me out. You had a guy in Cam Johnson who looked like he had some potential maybe to be the next face of the franchise. Maybe. A guy you could have rebuilt around. But instead, what do? They trade him for Michael Porter Jr., who was good in 2023, who played his role well with that Nuggets team. But what has he done since? Cam Johnson was a guy that could have potentially helped you in the future, and instead they gave that away to get Michael Porter Jr., and they traded for Terrence Mann. Does that really move the needle for the Nets? Hell no. It's a big L right there. And that's a potential big win for the Nuggets, the Milwaukee Bucks. 2 years after making a huge signing that we thought would potentially make them contenders and could get them another championship, they have to waive Damian Lillard. Yes, they got Gary Trent Jr. back. They got Ryan Rollins. They extended Bobby Portis. They re-signed Kevin Porter Jr., but they're re-signing a bunch of guys on a team that couldn't get past the first round for the second straight year. And you gave up the superstar that was supposed to bring back a championship, which is the Bucks admitting, yeah, we failed with Dame. That's a big L for them right there. And I got to say the Lakers, man, because they didn't really do anything to move the needle to give me confidence that, oh, it's going to be different this time around the playoffs. While DeAndre Ayton's a nice signing, he doesn't move the needle for the Lakers. That gives me confidence this time around they're going to come back better out west against a potential competition such as a revitalized Nuggets team with Cam Johnson. Possibly the Clippers could still be a solid team. You got the OKC Thunder potentially, the T-Wolves. You got the Houston Rockets. I mean, you got a loaded West out there. If you're the Lakers, what have they done so far to give you hope it's going to happen come playoff time? Because let's face it, LeBron's not getting any younger, folks. While he still plays well for his age, he's still not a spring chicken. And Luka, he's not exactly. What's Luka going to do when it comes time to step up and play against real teams out west? When they got to play against, like I said, those teams such as the Nuggets, the OKC Thunder, the T-Wolves. What happens then? The Rockets. I don't think that's a good look for the Lakers there. So those are some of my potential winners and losers. Now, folks, we're going to close this out. We're going to have a little bit of fun. Let's close this out on a fun note. We're going to do this with an LOL of the week. So this is going to be actually football related. I know that seems odd that we talk all this basketball, then close off with a football related subject. But this is actually kind of funny, I think. I shared this in a YouTube short, but now we're going to share it again. So I'm going to share this with you guys. Give me one moment. And this is actually kind of a funny graphic. What it is every NFL team's last 4,000-yard passer. So I'm going to share the screen with you guys real quick. You guys might find this funny. So let's dive right into it. So here we go. Here's the LOL of the week. So yeah, you see, you got for the every NFL team last 4,000-yard passer. Chicago Bears, never. Jets, name it, 1967. Browns, Brian Spy, 1980. Warren Moon, 91 for the Titans/Oilers. Panthers, Newton, 2011. Peyton, 2014 Broncos. 2016 Palmer, Cardinals. 2017 Breeze, Saints. 2017 Cousins, Washington. Young Cousins. 2018 Eli, Giants. 2018 Ben, Steelers. 2019 Brady, Pats, his last season there. 2019 Wentz, Eagles. 2020 Falcons, Matt Ryan. 2021 Phillip Rivers with the Colts. 2021 Derek Carr Raiders. Matthew Stafford, 21 Rams, Super Bowl season. 22 Herbert. The blown lead against the Jags. 23 Josh Allen. Bills, 23 Cowboys, Dak. 23 Packers, Love. 23 Texans, Stroud. 23 Jags, Lawrence. 23 Mahomes, KC. 23 Dolphins, Tua. 23 Purdy, 49ers. 24 Ravens, Lamar. 24 Bengals, Burrow. Horrible defense though. Lions, 24 Goff. Vikings, 24 Darnold. Geno, 24 Seahawks. Baker, 24 Bucks. But here's some of the funny parts about it. Start with the Chicago Bears, New York Jets, and Cleveland Browns. Now, you don't need a stat metric to tell you that these teams are QB hell. You can just look at the track record for those three teams of star quarterbacks. The Bears, dude, last time they really had a star quarterback was back in the old days, pre-Super Bowl. Sid Luckman? Jesus Christ, Hitler was still alive at the time. And then you got the Jets with Joe Namath. Super Bowl III? Browns in 1980? That was the year of Super Bowl 15 with the Eagles and Raiders? And then you look around, but even then you see some of these others, like Matt Ryan, 2020 for the Falcons. But let's not forget, the Falcons were a 4-win team that year. Eli, Giants 2018. Were they 5-6-win team that year? That didn't do anything for them. And then you look, well, who else? Trevor Lawrence, 23 with the Jags. They start off the season hot, but collapsed and only finished with 9 wins after an 8-3 start and missed the playoffs. 2019, Carson Wentz. Let's be honest, as an Eagles fan, that was the most overrated season by a quarterback of recent memory. Yes, they did finish 9-7 and win the NFC East, but that was also with a dreadful NFC East. 5 or 9 wins were against the division. 5-1 against their division. That was not a good look. And then you got, like I said, other example, you got 2016, Palmer with the Bengals. This was the year after the conference championship game when they had, 7 or 8 wins? So a lot of these seasons, some of these come from teams who were mediocre or pretty poor the season of the stat line. So that goes to ultimately show the stat line doesn't matter. And for the Bears, Jets, and Browns, that just puts it perfectly into perspective. Those guys are QB hell. That's why I just laugh at these QB stats and people overrating the shit out of quarterback stats. Seriously. People, y'all overrate the shit out of it because it ultimately does not contribute to wins and losses. If you look past that, you look at some of the team records during this. Panthers with Cam Newton, his best passing season, 2011, they only won 6 games, which was a tremendous upgrade from 1-15, but still only a 6-win season, so it's not much to write home about. But wait, remember, what is Cam's most famous year? 2015, when he won MVP. So that ultimately goes to show you it doesn't mean anything. And Burrow with the Bengals last year had a great statistical season, but their defense was doo-doo. And they ultimately missed the playoffs as a result. So these stats ultimately do not matter. Hey, David, that's why I find this graphic so funny, because people are just putting this out there on a pedestal, acting like this is great. Like all these stats represent great feats for the players and the teams, when really underneath it, if you look closer at the seasons, they really weren't great feats for some of them. 2017, Cousins, 7-win season. I just find it hilarious how overrated stats are. This graphic proves how overrated it is. So I thought that was kind of funny there to look at those stats. That should look great on paper, show these great QB feats on paper, but don't tell the entire story. So that's where my L. So that's going to be our first LOL of the week, which we're going to start doing going forward. It officially started this week to close out the 3-point blitz every week. So with that being said, guys, thanks for stopping by. I'm impressed by the older seasons with players doing it. Right, I get what you're saying. Like, right, you meaning back in the days where the league was more physical and there was more defense involved. I think that's what you're trying to allude to. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what it sounds like you're trying to allude to. Because ultimately, nowadays, in today's era, look, these stats are so common because it's such an offensive-friendly league, so quarterback-friendly that it's easy. Exactly. It's real easy nowadays to have these big 4,000-yard seasons that it actually takes away the significance of having it. It takes away the significance of, oh, this QB had 4,000-plus passing yards. Back in the older days, some of the best quarterbacks didn't always reach that stat line. In some cases, the teams that they played on were better than, say, Matt Ryan in 2020 with the Falcons, or Kirk Cousins 2017 with Washington, or Eli 2018 Giants, like the 2007-2011 Giants, just to illustrate the point. So that's why I put this in an LOL right there. So thanks, David, for stopping by, and thank you for the comment to validate my point. So with that being said, guys, I really appreciate you stopping by. I'll have to look that one up right there. So it was 1984 when he had the 48 touchdowns. He had 5,084 yards that season. That was his best right there. Yeah, so yes, guys. David, straight to the point, sports entertainment. Arku Mitch, thanks for stopping by. Whether you stop by for the whole show or part of the show, I appreciate your support. Like I said, without you guys, I wouldn't be doing this. So thanks as always for your support and keeping this channel rolling. That being said, if you haven't done so, drop a like, subscribe to both the Nicky Stees and the Hardcore Sports Network's platform channels, which we're doing this under. Most importantly, have a great rest of your day. It's a steamy, hot day outside, so please do us a favor. Please do yourself a favor. Make sure you try to stay cool and stay hydrated if you're going in the outdoors. That being said, have a great rest of your day. It's your boy Nicky Stees signing off.